Okay, welcome CS7 to Front End Projects Week, specifically project planning. And we're going to be building something the whole week. Okay. Now, ironically, I'm not going to be talking about code a lot. I'm going to be talking about project planning, managing your time, tips and tricks on how to get projects done. This is very real world, very applicable, as if you were running 1 week inside of a small business and given instruction to build something. So that's how we're going to approach this week. I'm really excited about it. Let's go to the browser and we will look at front end project planning. We'll have to work on that title, but we got this thing going here, and there's not a lot because I'm working on it. This is a work in progress. So one of the things I had linked in there, but it's not showing up, is the actual project. So let me give you this inside of channel here. This week's project. Okay. So let's go on a journey. You're about to begin working at a real company called Lambda School. And this company has a client who is me. I'm the client. And within this client, I have a desire to have a thing called Lambda Notes, an app. I've already commissioned a designer. They've already built me a layout. You have to take the layout and turn it into reality. So within that reality, you'll have a project manager. That project manager has been known as a teaching assistant to you. Inside of your groups that you've already been working in, you have a project manager, TA, that will be managing your progress throughout the week. So this is how the real world works. You have a PM, short for project manager. And that project manager has a subset of rules that they need to get the client to be happy. And those rules are here. So we're going to be talking about this right now. This week, you'll be building a minimum viable product, an MVP. So within product world, a minimum viable product is the base feature set of an app. Okay. So you might have somebody that's like, I want to have this huge, crazy idea. And if they're smart, they'll take it down and they'll break it into a minimum viable product with a tiny bit of features that if you complete this, we can actually go to market, start deploying this, and potentially making money off of it. So that is in the business of product and agency world called a minimum viable product, MVP. I want you to hear these things now so that when people talk about MVPs, you go, okay, I know what that means. You're to treat this week as if you're working at a company and the instructor is your client, right? The teaching assistants are acting as your project managers. They'll be your main support. The main objective of this week is to develop the MVP feature set listed below using React and any other technologies you've learned here at Lambda School. There are design files in this repo you should use as a creative guide. Okay, so let's look at the creative guide first and see what this thing even looks like. The first file that you need to look at is going to be called list view. All right, so here's Lambda Notes. Lambda Notes is simply a note-taking app, okay? So within this note-taking app, you have a layout here. Right now, there's just 9 lorem ipsum notes. And you will need to be able to create a view here that could list these 9 notes. Now, because it's a front-end project week, we will not be using back-end or a database. So you might be going, well, how am I supposed to persist the data? The answer is you don't have to. That could be a stretch goal, as you'll see. But all you'll have to do, for example, on this page, is probably make an array and loop over the array and create 9 notes, for example. That could be valid. Or maybe use an object literal or a JSON object. It's up to you. That's the beauty of front-end project week. It's up to you. You just have to make sure it looks like this. Now you might be going, well, if it's up to me, I can copy and paste 9 notes in HTML. You could, but then I'd be disappointed because it needs to be components inside of React. That would be the goal. But it's open up. It's open to you, so you have to make sure you can look at this and go, you know what? Maybe I'll come back to this. And we're going to talk about that shortly. So I'm going to walk you through the expectations of what this app should look like and should function like. And then, of course, we can answer any questions. And I'll talk to you about how you could approach this project. So right now, this is the home page, if you will. This is the first view you'll see as you log in. Then we're going to come up here. We're going to say View Notes. View Notes is what you already see here. So if you click it, nothing happens, right? It's just View Notes. But let's say you wanted to create a note. So click, hypothetically clicking. Let me go back here. Create New is up here. Create New View. It will open up to this view. Now what should happen is, because you're using React, you should asynchronously swap this view right here. So this should swap out from the views of the notes that you had. You should be able to create a new note here. So you write a note title, note content, hit the save button, click. Okay, because we're not persisting data, at least for MVP, all you have to do is on that save button, click. That should go back to your view notes view. Does that make sense? Let me see if that makes sense real quick. A couple yeses or nos would suffice inside a Slack channel. Awesome. Okay, so once you go back to your list view, you should be able to click on a note. If you want to double click or single click, that's up to you. So let's say I single click into a note. Anywhere on this note should be clickable. Click, come back to my design view, and you'll go to your note view. And it should show the actual note. In this case, it's going to be one note. Eric, that's up to you. That's up to you, my friend, however you want to build it. So on this thing, you have a note name, you have your data. You'll notice that we have an edit button, a link, and a delete. So if you hit edit, for example, we hit edit, we come back here, edit view, and it looks similar to create, but notice that the title is edit note and the button says update, and it's a different view. So keep that in mind, that this is a different view. Remember, Big Tony, we're not getting data. It's all hard-coded. And of course, use lorem ipsum if you need to. If you don't type all this crap out. Just do your own thing. Again, this is MVP. We're going to get into advanced stuff in a second. So editing view, we just saw that. So within the note view, we have a delete button. And if you hit the delete button, you'll get a delete modal that'll pop up. And it'll say, are you sure you want to delete this? And then you can hit delete, click, and then you would go back to the list view. You hit no, click, and it would go back to the note view. That's it. That's the whole MVP app, okay? So that is the minimum viable product that the client wants by end of week. Now, I want to say something here. Some of you are looking at this going, oh my gosh, I hope I can get this done in a week. Some of you are looking at this going, I probably could get this done today or tomorrow. I think that's great. There's a place for both trains of thought. I want you to make sure that you have the ability to build something like this with the skills that you've been using up until this point. And so let's say you're struggling, but you get the ideas in general. This is an opportunity for you to calm down, approach the project slowly, and really apply what you've learned. So that would be the MVP feature set, okay? So display a list of notes, create a note with a title and content, view an existing note, edit an existing note, delete an existing note. We just walked through all of those, okay? If you accomplish this, you have accomplished the minimum viable product of the week. Congratulations, good job. Seriously, it'd be great. The extra features are where it gets a little more quote unquote fun because this is like business time. This is fun time. So you need to be able to get your business done and then jump into your extra features. Do not jump ahead to extra features until you've accomplished MVP and you have passed it off with your project manager. So your project manager is going to literally be tracking out of 5 how many features you've completed for MVP. And they will be noting when you've completed MVP. And at that point, you'll need to work with your project manager to discuss the extra features that you would like to build. So for example, one of the first features you could look at is make the data persist with arrays, object literals, JSON, or a third-party service like Firebase if you're feeling frisky. So this could be totally fun. Introduce a search functionality into your list view. So you could like search for actual words inside of your list view. Enable markdown support and notes. So that could be super fun. Sorting options in the list view. So let's say that you have like name, date. You could sort by different things if you wanted to. Create and display tags that could be added to notes. So you could say like Lambda School notes or business notes, and you can actually add a tag to each note. Drag sorting in the list view. So in that list view where it was all kind of just static, you can make it clickable and drag and droppable, and then it would persist, of course. Add the ability to have checklists within the note view. So the note view just has a title and text. What if you added a checklist ability? Export all your notes to a CSV. So you're done with everything, and maybe the client says, look, I want to have all this stuff in a CSV so I could save it in another project. That's great. Give them a CSV for all your notes. And lastly, create a login system around the MVP. So if you wanted to prevent people from seeing your notes, you wanted to be more private and secure, create a little login system around your MVP. So you'll notice this repo does not have any starter code. This is on purpose. You are to start from scratch using any files you've built throughout your time at Lambda School. So you will be responsible to build this from zero. Does that mean that you are forced to go build it from zero? Not necessarily. Like you could go borrow another project that you've built and get it running and create React app and all that stuff. But it's up to you. It's up to you how you want to build it. The only thing I've asked that you do use is React, okay? Because you've just studied it, you just learned it, and you might find ways to apply it. So that is the project in general. I think it's really exciting for anybody, for people that might be struggling. MVP could be a week challenge, and I'm okay with that. For those that are really getting it and starting to click, see as far as you can get into these extra features as you can. I think there's something for everybody. If somehow, I'd be so impressed, and no expectation here. My expectation is hopefully everybody gets MVP done. That's my expectation. If someone were to complete all these things, you would have a legit app that you could actually go and try to sell. Because all these features are basically like found in every note app. So if you push yourself, if you're already feeling like this stuff's easy, this would be amazing. But remember, let's say you're doing really well. And I think human nature is to say like, look at me, I'm doing so well, praise me, right? I mean, I feel that way. But at the same time, people are going to be struggling with this big time. So please be professional. You're going to be in these groups with your project managers, and keep it professional by saying, yeah, I've completed my 5 out of 5 MVP. Other people might see that and feel super intimidated because they don't have anything done. There's a human element involved. Okay, so let's talk about the groups. I keep seeing questions about it. The groups are within your TA groups. Just your TAs watch over you in certain subsets of groups. And so your TAs, if they haven't, I'm sure they've already reached out to you. Can a TA confirm that? I mean, you guys are already working in groups, right?
They've been working in pairs assigned starting from last week.
Okay, so at this point, the groups of TAs are going to be distributed from the people in the cohort to the TAs. And those groups will be meeting daily to do what's called a stand-up. You are 100% supposed to work on this alone. No pair programming, no group coding, okay? This is 100% individual. But as a group of people, we want to meet with the project managers and just to give a report, just like the real world. Yes. In the real world, by the way, you do pair program quite a bit, but sometimes senior developers don't have time to help juniors or mid-levels, and you're working on a project for a week that could take a senior maybe a day, but you getting it done in a week is just as valuable as a day in a senior as far as the pay scale goes. So just to understand that as well. So yes, like Tig said, TAs will be reaching out, getting organized in teams. And those teams are 100% meant to just emulate a work environment as far as other people and having different progress. We're going to be talking about what that looks like. Any other questions regarding the actual project itself? Let me go read up. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Eileen says, what is Firebase? Firebase is awesome. It allows you to develop using a cloud-based service for a backend. I think they still have a free plan. Yeah, so you can use a free plan, and as long as you don't have 100 simultaneous connections, they give you a free database and everything. And it's awesome. So I love Firebase for like toy apps like this that are still legit. But that is not part of this training. I just wanted to let you know it's out there. And if you get done with MVP, this is a fun place to go. Let's see. Big Tony, do we need to use React or can we use vanilla? Well, considering that React is basically built on vanilla, hopefully you're using both, right? So, for example, when you render a component using document dot whatever you want to do to get in there, so you're using both. But I would say that React, composing components, and utilizing state when you need to, like try to use as much React as you can. Okay, question is, will you explain drag sorting? Drag and sorting are two different things. So if I were to go back to let's see, where is it? Go back to the design pieces. So one thing you could introduce as an extra feature is you could say, I want this note title. And of course, you could put like note title, whatever, have a different name. I could drag and drop that up here, and then it would reorder. So that could be one of the extra challenges. Sorting would be like a drop down right here. You click it, and you could say sort by most recent, for example. Then you could query the dates and resort it. So that's extra. Let's see. Aaron says, we can do this with straight React, right? No need for Redux. Correct. No need for Redux for MVP, and you can find different ways to use it. And Eric says, why not push the note to state and save the data locally? That's a good observation, Eric. You could do that. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Tommy says, are we allowed to ask for help? Great question. You are not allowed to ask me for help because I'm a client. So you need to ask your project manager for help, and they're totally allowed to help you. The difference is the project manager, I've already had a big meeting with them. Their goal is to give you the right idea, but not tell you the answer to code. Now, if it gets to a point where an answer to code needs to happen because you are literally blocked from progressing, of course they can help you. But they've been instructed to be guides and not answer sheets. This is seriously like, I want you to own this yourself. Let's see. I'm looking at all the questions. Yes. It's going to be so fun. I'm glad you guys are excited. Let's see. What's the underlying database for Firebase? Oh, you can set up your own thing. Don't worry about that. Ronnie, I agree. Stay with React. Okay, Dixie says, do we report through pull requests only, email, or any way we want? Okay, so here's how we're going to report. We're going to run what's called a stand-up. So a stand-up meeting, I'm going to be getting this documentation inside of Airtable, just so you know. But a stand-up meeting is part of a Scrum Agile methodology, or Kanban. We'll talk about those later in the week. But basically, stand-up in its name is a meeting that should be short enough and succinct enough that everybody could comfortably stand through it. Okay. So that's why they call them stand-up meetings. So everybody could comfortably stand through the meeting. It's short enough and succinct enough. These meetings will be up to you and your project managers. You will coordinate after I'm done talking here. You'll be, like Ty said, he'll reach out to you, and individually your TAs will reach out to you and set up every day when you will do a stand-up, and you will report on your progress. And I'm going to talk to you how you can report, but I want to make sure I answer any of the questions before we get into the reporting. And yes, Aaron's right. There's a difference between a 23-year-old standing up and a 45. It's true. Okay. And I'll go through a mock stand-up with you using a Trello board. Yes, Ty, totally. Thank you. Everybody read what he just said. Okay. Let's see. I think I've got all the questions answered as far as the project goes. Any other questions? I want to emphasize the TAs will not be giving technical help. It's a project help, meaning here's what I think you should do. Of course, if you run into a hyper technical issue, you could bring that up in your stand-up. I don't want technical things to be a blocker, but you're meant to struggle. Like, it might take you all day to figure out one thing because you have time to do it. But we will get started, Aaron, as soon as I'm done talking. So we'll get started ASAP. I'll tell you how to get started. I just wanted to make sure that the project details were pretty clear. Any other questions before I move on? I'm going to be talking about how to approach the project and like how to break it down into projects and projects. So that's going to be the next thing. Okay. Let's see. Aaron's typing and then we'll move forward. Nope. Yep. Okay, here's the last question before I move on. So do we go for pixel perfect or functionality first? I would say, because I'm the client, I want it to look similar to the design that I commissioned. So make it pretty close, but don't kill yourself for pixel perfection. But I want it to look pretty similar to how it's designed. Good question. The answer is not pixel perfect, pixel close enough. Charlie, wait, have you not been in the Zoom this whole time? Can someone help Charlie out? That'd be sad if you didn't hear anything, but it's recorded. Okay, I just meant to do work on it. Yep, I would say let's talk about starting a project now that we're ready. Okay, of course I'll answer any other questions, but throughout. But at this point, I think everybody has a solid idea of what's expected of you, right? You're expected to build the MVP by Friday. There is no sprint challenge. Like, this is it. The expectation then, after you get your MVP complete, is to try to get as many features as you can. That is the week right there. That's pretty simple. How it looks is up to you. That's not like looks design-wise is up to me here, but like extra features and stuff, it's up to you. Okay, let me go back to how you would kind of start going through this project and how you would start developing this project and planning for it. Let's see, one more question. Terry says, do we do at our own pace as long as it's due by Friday? Absolutely. You could be coming into Friday and just getting MVP done, and that's just fine. You're just going to be making sure you're checking in every day with your project manager, and they're going to be checking your progress against the 5 features. So by Friday, the goal is that everybody should have all these done and matching, of course, the design. Whoa, Patrick Bot just went nuts. That's funny. He is learning. Okay. That was good. Okay, so when you start a project, front end project week, the funny thing is I heard Patrick's voice for every one of those. Can I be a project manager? Can I be a project manager? Oh, that's good stuff. Okay, so front end project week. The way I would accomplish this is divide and conquer. So the way we divide and conquer is to actually identify the tasks in front of us, and then build the extra features, right? So we're going to be using a tool called Trello. Trello. So within Trello, if you were just like to go Google it, it would be Trello. Oh my gosh. And then just click the first link you see. Trello's good. Ashley, Trello's good. You probably just had bad people using it before. So within Trello, we have, first off, Trello is built off of an agile methodology called Kanban, okay? So if you've been using Trello for Scrum, where it's like a set 2-week cycle, you probably hated your life, okay? But Kanban, I'm going to put all these links up, so don't worry, inside Airtable, and explain these further. But Kanban allows you to have the highest priority item get done, and you don't have to worry about an arbitrary 2-week cycle. I kind of hate Scrum methodologies that way, because it's like, get this done in 2 weeks. Here's your points. Here's your whatevers. But unfortunately, like 70% of the places I've worked do a 2-week cycle in Scrum. But for what we're going to do this week, we're just going to use Trello to keep track of our progress. So for example, I've created a test here, and you are required by end of day to build a Trello board that has all your assignments or all your tasks in it. And you are required, I need to put this inside of the README now that I say the word required, but I'll put it in there. But you're required to have a Trello board that manages the tasks inside of MVP. So let me show you what that could look like when it's done. Here's a little thing. We were originally calling it NoteMate, and we found out that there's an actual company called NoteMate, so I changed it to Lambda Notes. So over here, you will find that we have these tasks that are just the MVP. I've highlighted them in green, which I'm going to go through. And the backlog has all the extra features. And then as you complete tasks, you will move said tasks over to in progress by dragging and dropping. Notice the drag and drop. And then as it's being, so let's say you have your first thing and you're going, I want to be able to display a list of notes. That's the first thing I want to do. So this will show yourself, hey, this is where I'm working. So maybe this is Monday, for example. Then you can go over and say, when I'm done with this, you move it to done. So you can actually see your progress visually of how you've got this done. This is used everywhere, by the way, for good and bad. In our case, it should be very good, very succinct. So for example, I might add a card, and I'm going to go back to the kind of dumb one, and we'll build it to be smarter. But let's say you needed to create your app. So it's like create React app first, right? I have to hit the add button. At this point, you might be saying, look, I need to display all notes. I got to get these features done. But this is going to be like create React app. And I'm going, okay, I know I need to do this. Well, the problem is that now it's kind of outside of MVP, and it's a little weird. So the cool thing is you can actually go into your tasks, so display a list of all notes, and you could actually introduce a checklist. So you could say, okay, checklist, and say, all the things I need to do. Could add that checklist. And then over here, we could say create React app, right? And then it starts creating a checklist. It's a little more intuitive this way, because then you can have subtasks that don't knock out the big MVP features. So for example, on display list of notes, you're probably going to have to say create React app, create list component. Let's see, create HTML, CSS. See how that works? So now you can start fleshing out your bigger features into smaller, more consumable features. And then you can start to say things like, I'm halfway through feature 1, right? Because let's say you have create React app done, check. A nice little progress bar starts to show. Create list components, check. And so let's say that you're reporting to Patrick. And Patrick's like, hey, how's it going? Is your project complete? What steps are you in? And you could say, well, Patrick, I actually have half of my display a list of all notes feature done. I just got to get create HTML and CSS, and I'm good to go. So that would be a really good report because it's very succinct, and it's not like, yeah, I'm almost done. You know, that's not a good way to report. You want to be able to report specific features that you're working on. So checklists allow you to do those things. They're pretty cool that way. And you can make them any way you want. So you can just say checklist if you don't want to waste creative juice. Within each of these components, you're going to have similar things, though. So let's say you always have to create HTML and CSS, right? Well, the cool thing is if you have a checklist, so we add our checklist. Within our checklist, and if you have one that already exists, it'll start to be smart and say, hey, would you like to copy over the other checklist you've already made? So that's pretty cool. These are just features of Trello. I don't want to get deeper than this, okay? This is as far as we're going to get with Trello. But you'll notice that there's these label colors up here. Now, we have decided that it would be great for you to label everything green for the MVP feature list. Everything extra will just be unlabeled, and then you can flesh it out as you want. Deleting things in Trello is weird. You have to click into it. You have to hit the archive button, and then you have to hit the delete button. It's very strange. It makes you go all the way down there. So, yeah. Let's go back to this is like if you started right now, if you started from the beginning of using Trello, this is all you would see. So let me actually delete this. You would just see this. This is what they give everybody when they start. And so you could just go and you need to go into here and you need to go update all these. Oh my gosh, I just shut it down. There it is, front end project week. So you'll need to go in and add all of these features in and get practice with Trello. So that's going to be one of the first things you do after this guided demo, okay? So you have to go create in Trello, go create an account, create a board. So here's what it looks like, by the way, when you first start. This has a couple boards in it, but yours is going to be blank and have a create new board button. So you just got to hit create new board. You have to give it a title. So let's say it's going to be Lambda Notes. There's going to be no team associated with it because it's your own board. And then you can do a private board or public. It doesn't matter, but I would say private's fine. You can choose any background here as a basic member. And I usually go with something that's easier on the eyes. And then hit create board. At this point, it just starts with a blank list. So I guess I was wrong about the 3 before. So at this point, you got a list. And so I would say you have the things that we talked about already. I'm going to put these in requirements inside the README now that I've gone through this. I'm going, you know what? I'm going to put this in the README as well on how to create this Trello board as part of the project. So have no fear. I'll put that in. So at this point, we'll just say to do, and you hit save. So remember, these are lists. It's just like Flexbox, right? You got your flex flow, and then no, I'm just kidding. Okay, to do, in progress, and then done. Like, that's all you really need to get this thing done. At this point, you can add a card. So to do, this is when you would start adding your features. So you're going to go to this feature list here, display a list of notes. Oh my gosh, I keep almost closing it. Display a list of notes, hit the add button. And then at this point, you can click back into this display of notes, go to your label, tag it with a green label so you know that it's an MVP feature. Now, some of you might be going, that's dumb. Why don't I just put another list? That's fine. Do it. I would say MVP features, right? You could do that too. The cool thing is these are drag and droppable too, the lists. And so you could say display a list notes, MVP features. And then you could say over here, extra features. I really want to leave it up to you, but these are good suggestions. Then at this point, it would be rinse and repeat, right? Just put all these features in. So that's one of your requirements. Before end of day, you need to have your Trello board done and passed off with your project manager. So they will literally look at it and make sure you got it. This will help you identify for the rest of the week what you want to accomplish. Remember, green first. And of course, if you wanted to, like, you know what, all extra features, I'm going to mark them orange. If you want to just have your own color coordination, that's up to you. But we'll just make sure that you mark all features with green. Any questions on Trello? Let's see. So yeah, that's how you make the backlog. John, if we're going to share it with our PM, doesn't need to be public. Not necessarily. You could have private and then add a person to it. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can come in here and it says show menu. So let me do that again, show menu. And there's an invite button. And then you can invite people. Of course, they have to have a Trello account. So the project managers need to go create an account if they have not already. And
actually, you can just use your Gmail.
Well, but
log into.
Yeah, if you prefer that, some people don't. So I don't know. It's up to you. Everybody's got their own preference. I prefer Gmail as well. Let's see. Okay. Daniel, Trello is a must. So we're forcing you to use Trello because that's what the project managers are using. So no Jira, no nothing else. Just so you know, it doesn't matter. Like in the grand scheme, you just need to start tracking progress and feeling with that. Some of you have never used a project management software. Remember, Eileen, it might be super easy for you. Other people might struggle. So let's keep that in mind.
No, I meant that I think people are just overthinking it.
They probably are. It's probably because it's just new stuff. But
yeah,
it's just lists and cards, right? Like everybody, lists and cards, just copying and pasting features. But I want you to take it seriously. I want you to use this board as your weekly, like this is what you're going to use with your project manager every day. So take it seriously. Let's see. Like MVP in Tech World. Yeah, it's true. Let's see. Patrick said, Josh, are we encouraging the students to include their Trello links in their project README? I think that's a great idea, Patrick. We could do that. So, again, I'm iterating on the last time this was taught, and I've added design files. Like the last cohort didn't even have design files, so you're welcome. So we're just going to take every time we do this, we're going to iterate and make it better. So open to suggestions. So thanks, Patrick. Let's see. Most valuable project, minimum viable project. Yep. Aaron, having design files does not make it easier. I think it does. Okay. let's see. I think I've covered all of the high level stuff that you need to do to be successful for the last 10 minutes of, let me show you what I would do, how I would start building this project. So first off, I'm going to build my Trello board first. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to hit Trello bird, ticker bird, and we're going to go in and start building out my plan. So you need to make that first. Second, you need to get this repo forked and cloned, because you're going to pull request against this repo with your own pull request. You need to have a pull request today, even if the pull request is just nothing. I've required all project managers to report back to me today. And every one of you listening to my voice has to put a pull request in. That's a requirement, whether you've got nothing or you've got the beginnings of your app. Okay, so the pull request must be done by end of day today. So pull request and Trello board are the deliverables, or you're fired. Yeah. Front end project designs. Okay, here's how I would start. So I've got this list view here, and I know that I've got to build a React app, right? Like that's one of the requirements. So I've already, in my past courses here, I've built something using Create React app. It's a great place to start. Just get a bare bones React app set up and get your components set up and your CSS, get everything working. That would be the first thing I do after my Trello board and in fact, I would suggest you just get a pull request right from the beginning. Just fork, clone, pull request at that moment, and just have a blank sheet ready to go. Then you get all your stuff done and you can focus on your code. That's just a pro tip. So then at this point, I'd create an app and I would get my scaffolding up. So scaffolding is a terminology we use in front end to get all of the working pieces that, like, for example, your CSS, make sure you can change the background color to red or something, get all your stuff ready so that you can start building components and not worry about your app not functioning. Like, don't try to go in and just build a component. Make sure that everything is working first. Your CSS, your JavaScript, your React app. If you're using a preprocessor, and I hope you are, go in, get your preprocessor working, probably with Webpack or whatever you're using. So that's a good idea to start. Then at this point, I would say start looking at your HTML and CSS. So you have your HTML and CSS, start building boxes, right? Well, don't build 9 boxes, build 1 box, right? Think about components. Think what needs to be repeated here. So that's the first thing I would do, is what needs to be repeated? What kind of structure do I need to build around that? And then go, okay, so for example, in React, you have to inject your components into a parent node usually, right? So you might have your index.html and make sure you have your div of root or main or whatever node you want to call it, and then set up your first component. So for example, like app.js perhaps, and use app.js to compose your components inside of it. It's a great way, I think, to start something like this. Then within your app.js, you literally start fleshing out components. And so you might say sidebar component. Oh, that might be good. Or main content component or something. I don't know. I'm making crap up. I want you to decide. That's why I didn't give you any boilerplate. At that point, you start composing components within components, right? Because that's what React does so well. And then get the stuff done. It's like, that's how I'd approach it. I would start trying to figure out, how do I get my app built? At that point, how do I get my components built? And then I start adding a little bit more logic, right? So for example, I need to figure out how to iterate through 9 notes. Or you don't need to. Maybe you just have 9 hard-coded things and you come back to it later. It's up to you how you want to approach it. I try to get through the scaffolding as soon as I can, meaning I try to get the button, even if it's not teal looking, it's like a gross kind of just dumb button, but it's clickable. I try to get functionality first whenever I build anything. So I would try to get all the functionality. So this button, if you click create note, click, it changes the view, right? That's how I would start. looking at these things. That's just me, though. But I've found that it's been very successful to scaffold first, then fill in, making it look really pretty second. So functionality first, making it look good second. At that point, when you have functionality done and you have style done and you've got your MVP passed off with your project manager, you now have free reign to build whatever you want. So keep that in mind. Try to race to the finish line that is MVP, and then start building your features. Don't try to build your features with MVP, or you'll hate it. I am challenging you all to at least have your React app set up by today, and maybe your first 2 or 3 components done today. That would be awesome. That would be the goal for me if I were you. So that's kind of like the direction that I would go. Hopefully it makes sense to you based on the training you've already received, but that's what I would do. I would start React app, start looking at components, and away we go. So that should be your afternoon today. Of course, I'm never going to assume ability or skill set. I'm just going to assume that you've heard of these things before and can start attacking them. Okay. Any questions about how I would, or any questions about what I just said? Patrick said, with your pull request, add the task list to your PR message. Light or dark roast coffee. I can't have coffee. Like, it causes me to like turn into a gerbil. I just start, so I can't even touch it. Eric says, what's a good way to set up the directory for less and CSS with React? Really, it's just like there's a bunch of modules that you can look at, like React modules that you can go look at, bring them in through npm, and just follow those. Like it's a Google game at this point. So I would say Google it and figure it out. There is no perfect way to do it. With CSS and less directories, I would say that usually I have, well, it depends, man. Like you can put your less files right next to your components. Like you could do, like every component has its own folder. Within those folders, there's a less file and a CSS file, or like that's why I'm not just being difficult. Like there's a million ways to do it. So it's up to you how you want to approach it. There's not a ton of CSS in here. Like if you look at the styles, it's kind of just, I mean, you could use Bootstrap if you want. Bootstrap 4 is pretty awesome if you're comfortable with it. Tabs or spaces? Spaces. 2 spaces. That's right, Devin. I can't even handle it. I can't even handle a bunch of Cokes. I'll just start getting like, or Pepsi or whatever. My brain goes nuts. Let's see. Doesn't mean I don't like that stuff. It's just, it's crazy. Let's see if we want to back in. Can we add that as an extra? Yes, Eileen, if you know how to do back end, that is one of the features. It's one of the first ones. Yep. Richard, Coca-Cola, my friend.
I was referring to relational databases.
Yeah, if you want to do that stuff, you can totally do it, but just get MVP done first.
Okay, sounds good.
I think everybody's going to be super excited about burning through MVP, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is a little bit harder than I thought. So let's get that done and get that out of the way, and then you can go crazy with it. Okay. That is it, my friends. So now what's going to happen is hopefully you're going to go build a Trello board and get your project started. I'm going to go update the README to have the Trello instructions in there right now. You're going to work with your project managers. Your project managers will reach out to you, so that give them time to do that. And while you're waiting for them to reach out to you, I would say get your fork and your clone of the repo and set up a pull request right from the beginning just to be good, and start working on your Trello board. At that point, when your Trello board's complete, start building your app. So get hyped for the app building. And that is all I've got for you today. Tomorrow, we'll be doing another kind of guided demo of basically project management stuff. I'm going to talk about Trello and Kanban and Scrum and just like real world stuff. If you're like, I don't have time to look at that stuff, we'll record it and you can watch it later if you want to get your project done. It's secondary to you building. That's how important we feel about building this week. All the guided demos will be optional from here on out. We're going to culminate, by the way, everything on Friday. We want to do a demo. So, of course, I'll work with your project managers and we'll get some demos set up. We'll figure it out, whether it's within your team or on channel here. I'll get some demos downloaded to my computer and run them and see if we can do something like that. So it'll be fun on Friday to kind of show off a little bit of what we've been working on. But don't let that scare you. If you don't want to be part of the demo, it's not required. It's just something that is good to see everybody else and what they did. Okay, I forked and cloned before you made changes to readme. What is the git command for pulling down changes? It's just going to be pull. Just pull, git pull. And the exact command could be that, yeah. Okay. Any other questions before I let you loose? Wabba dabba labba dub dub. That was from Richard, not me. But I agree with it. Relink to the repo. Sure thing. I'll get that up into Airtable too. Let's see here. Is it pinned? There's 42 pinned items. My goodness. Thank you, Patrick, for being such a champion of the people. So yeah, what I'm going to do for the time while you guys are building is I'm going to go build out all the stuff I said I would in Airtable. So I've got tasks like you do. Let's see. If you forked it and cloned it, you'll have to go do that command, the git pull from master. Don't stress about it though. Just use it as a reference. The README file is just a reference. You have all the knowledge I'm going to put into it. That's good. I love the Szechuan. Szechuan Josh. Come on, Marty. Gotta get the Szechuan Josh. I can't even say it. Oh, man. I love it so much. It's not for everybody, but I love Rick and Morty. Especially that episode. Okay, we digress. My goodness. Everybody get to work. And I'm your client. So yeah, listen to your project managers. You're going to have to make sure that if you have any questions that you feel like you want to DM me, don't. DM the project manager, because that's how I want you to think about this week. I want to treat it like you've got to go to your PM first. And then they will relay the message to me. It's not to be annoying. It's that's how it is. I want you to go through that process. So if you have a question, go to your PM first. They will come to me. And then they'll get the information back to you. That's how it really is. And so we want to practice that and see how that works. So I'm excited, you guys. This should be really fun. I'm excited to see what you come up with. And of course, I'll be giving you more knowledge and wisdom throughout the week as far as real world project management goes. So little nuggets of wisdom every morning. We're not doing code challenges for the rest of the week. It's 100% focused on the project. We did one this morning just to get the brains going. So what we'll do, I'll probably just give you an hour in the morning, like from 8 to 9, just to work on your project. Then from 9 to 10, we'll do the project management guided demo stuff. That'll be the goal. So Patrick, if you want to update the calendar to reflect that, sorry. Because that'll give us time to meet with the TAs, project managers in the morning. Okay.
I'm sorry, Josh. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. So, actually, I'll just chat with you offline. We're
Cool.
good to go. Hey, guys. Have fun. And I'll see you tomorrow. Of course. You're allowed to talk to me. I'm just saying. Please talk to your project managers first. I want you to experience that. I'm excited to keep working with you out. CS7, let's go.